Welcome back to VNOG. Where we last left off, a giant chunk of the island where most of our questing would be done was revealed. However, there was another massive chunk in the center barred and occupied by the Paraka, and now we can access it. Garen asks us to cull flocks of Hikaki, but if you check the quest description, it accidentally says flocks of black husi. If you recall from Chapter 4, the mentioning of Kuna bog snakes implies that other Master Builder Rahi were planned to appear as enemies. And true to that, there is an unused sprite of a Hodo bug. In this case, Husi are a type of Powahi bird. If you've ever played Minog, they're the ones that look like a cross between a drinky bird and an emu. Anyway, the actual enemies you fight, Hikaki, are classified as reptiles, and it sounds weird to call a group of them a flock. It could be another mistranslation, but I like to imagine it was a leftover idea from when Husi were planned. That inconspicuous sewer grate didn't used to be there. Fortunately, finding the entrance to the new area isn't as convoluted as it was in the last chapter. Welcome to Area 5. All the dig spots are quest related, but I'm still gonna go over the enemy drop spoilers, so timestamps on the screen. As you'd imagine from a volcanic area, all the new enemies are fire related and drop some decent fire gear. The fire govna and Ussel crabs are shown again because they are more accessible in this chapter. All of these enemies are worth grinding even for the XP alone, with one major outlier. I'll talk more about them later, but Master Nektann are by far the hardest enemy in the game and not something you'd ever want to approach in combat. This one screen is funny. They're just two normal ice govna. I always wondered what they were doing here. Bro thinks he's him. Seems I forgot to change my equipment for my encounter with Zaktan. Oops. Let's fix that real quick. You'll understand why I'm keeping the launcher later. The Hikaki themselves aren't too difficult, just a bit tanky and threatening in large groups. For an enemy you're fighting en masse, though, it certainly beats rock Ussels. Not that the mechanic does a whole lot, but at this point in the game it's interesting to see an enemy that buffs its own movement points. It does mean they can reach you pretty quickly if you start the battle from far away. One thing I've only been exploring in other playthroughs more recently is alternate stat builds, and defense can go pretty crazy with the right gear. It'll take a while to fully round out my stats either way, though. Against fire enemies, the Ice Harpoon saves me a lot of time, I think. The Soulstone has also warmed up to me since you can chain it with 2 harpoons. Its AP cost is lower than I remember it being. As expected, there are plenty of enslaved Matoran around these parts. I still wish we got unique graphics for them, though. An infected air Matoran, an infected water Matoran, etc. At least, like, 3 or something. Also, lots of large machinery. We'll have time to explore it all in later chapters. Speaking of alternate builds, one thing I discovered recently is that the Ripper is better than I remember it being. So, just for demonstration, I'm going to try it out. Though I immediately forget to maximize my AP usage to go with it. Oops. Let me actually find something low AP enough to use with the Ripper. Now we're talking. I'm running an Ice Toa, so it's not as mind-blowing as if I was playing air or water, but it's still nice to know you actually have options besides harpoons and Zamors at this point. Funnily enough, I don't think I would have considered exploring other builds if I hadn't played Waven, since that is basically its central gimmick. The combat system, compared to this game, has come a long way. Let's spice things up a little. Now would actually be an okay time to try healing. You'll soon be thankful that the fortress entrance is close to Garen's place. We're gonna be making a lot of trips over there. Great, we gotta talk to the funny riddle man to dig up some rocks again. We finally reached that point in the game where traveling from Garen's place to the Matoran fortress becomes a routine thing, so I'm gonna fast forward this footage a little. Without spoiling what the buried weapon even is, it's really good, but not something I can imagine the Paraka splitting into 3 parts and burying in their fortress. You'll see why when we dig it up. Battling 10 Fiku is easy enough, but as it happens, a majority of the Fiku population is at Garen's place. Would have been helpful if Garen and Velika knew a bit about each other's game in advance. With Velika, I guess it would make sense for him to hide himself in riddles and metaphors anyway, but still. 2 pieces left. Gonna make this battle a bit more hectic again. Well, marginally hectic anyway. Well, time for another montage. And now back to Garen's. Now we find the 3 Matoran that can help us find the weapon pieces. Each encounter is slightly different from one to the next. Because the Paraka Fortress is a new location and isn't a long walk from Garen's, I won't be fast-forwarding there. I'll reserve it for places we've definitely already traveled to. Just stopping to enjoy the view. What would a cave be without another Nektann encounter? Well, this looks familiar. It's funny revisiting spots on the edge of the fortress looking from the inside outwards. Pile of rocks is pretty easy to find. And so we return to Garen's. One piece down, two to go. I always forget to check on the Matoran afterwards. Yeah, that makes sense. The map always confuses me when we're inside the caves. Kinda like how straightforward the second Matoran is. Two pieces out of three. It's a good thing the last cave is right by the entrance, because this Matoran quest breaks the pattern a little. At times like this, the one cheat about as tempting as Gimme or Move 180 is the one for avoiding encounters. GOD. Expected there to be Nektann in the last cave, if not the second. Huh. Well, in retrospect, this isn't the last we see of them. So, the first two dig spots were really super easy to find, but the game throws a bit of a curveball at us. The Matoran can't remember where he hit it. Hopefully the player has picked up that the rock pile is never on the cave entrance screen, but the hint that it's not far away roughly narrows it down to the bottom right corner of the fortress somewhere. Another cave. We'll come back here for a quest soon. I can't remember having too much trouble finding this dig spot, but it does take a bit of wandering around. It was interesting, at least. Bro was thinking about his friend so hard he forgot the dig spot. Fair, honestly. The last piece, but we still need some extra metal. Would have been great if Garen told us that earlier. We need to battle the secret Ussel crabs in the secret Ussel crab cave, and Garen is very thorough about how to access it. I guess their dialogue is just really similar. If you can't figure out the cave entrance, the quest description has some more info, and Garen does give more hints if you talk to him a second time. Geronimo. Not that they're exceedingly difficult, but these guys don't mess around. An enemy only breaks into full sprint like that if it's using more than 5 movement points. Unlike the Hikaki though, these guys don't need a wind-up to do it. Makes sense considering their melee and all. Time to build the weapon. I make it sound like the weapon is this grand thing, but it's technically something we've seen once or twice before. A stone weapon? Let's try it. I guess he's still holding on to it. Hand over the weapon, you big troglodyte. He wants us to check out that other cave system. Anyway, for all our troubles, the weapon we built was a stone ripper. Again, rippers are a solid melee weapon if you have a talent on you. It's nice to actually be given gear that is appropriate to the level of the player and the other gear found at this point in the game. What I meant earlier when I said that it wouldn't make sense for the Praka to split it and bury it is Radak basically carries around the same weapon. I mean, literally, he has a high damage stone melee buzzsaw. It's still a good weapon, but are duplicates of the Praka's own weapons worth that much trouble to hide in their own fortress under solid rock? I don't know, it's just weird. Best not to overthink it. Let's test it out real quick. Yeah, I forgot to equip a talent again. Now I should talk about the Master Nektann. They're another lava ape case of an unbeatable enemy you're supposed to avoid combat with altogether. Fighting them kinda sucks. Fortunately, the main quest only requires you to beat one and it's near the very end of the game. They knew how hard these bastards are. For now, we avoid them the old-fashioned way, through stealth. For this quest in particular, it only demands that you inspect the 3 entrances to the cave. Actually, infiltrating it is completely optional, which I can appreciate. The Master Nektann guard 3 pieces of gear in the cave system, and 2 of them are actually worth the trouble, so it's a little tempting to infiltrate it either way. Ironically though, the best item is the least guarded, and the worst item is the most guarded. Don't ask why. When I say best item, I mean that I'll probably be carrying the power launcher for the rest of the game. It's exactly what it sounds like. You've heard of Talons and Power Zamors. Well, here is the launcher's upgrade. A true upgrade, not the harpoon. And it still can't do jack against the Nektann. See, I could turn back, but I'm what they call in the gambling business a sunk cost fallacy. The upgraded teleportation pack is pretty nice too. It's something I make a habit of carrying, but nobody's stopping you from sticking to something more practical, like heals. One last piece of gear. Ah, darn it. Might as well forfeit with the other Nektann nearby. Yeah, Zaktan dropped a more powerful air attack mask from his fight, so this is actually useless. I don't know what's wrong with mask balancing in this game. It always seems like you get the nobles near the end. Just to show off a fight with one of these guys, I'll pick a solo battle. You thought the Guardian dodging was rough. I can't even land a hit. I forgot to bring a heal, but I don't know how much it would change. Well, I was lucky enough to stun it a turn. And dead. That was a bit of a rout, but I got some sick gear. Alright, I'm all suited up. Time to see what else Garen has in store for us. Nektann swarmed the Matoran base? No wonder those Matoran caves were so quiet. We gotta rescue them. Cue the travel montage! I'm feeling merciful today. It turns out that the Nektann didn't just invade the fortress, they invaded every part of the fortress. Every screen, every hut, every log post wall. But we're so maxed out by this point that for us Toa, it's kind of just pest control. After missing so many times to master Nektann, this is my villain origin story for maxing out on technique for every run. Does it counter enemy dodge? Hell if I know, but I like to hope it does. Unfortunately, most of the Matoran dialogue is unchanged from the default response. None of the residents are freaked out, few of them give thanks. I really feel like this resistance base was a major missed opportunity for flavor text dialogue. I haven't played many RPGs, but I'm pretty sure hub areas like this are where most of the small talk is supposed to be found. I want to hear about Pyrrhic's scouting missions, what Kazi and Dalu do in their spare time, and their thoughts on Velika. We never really get any of that in this game, even though there is plenty of canon lore for it. Here's a funny thing, you can just hide in this plant and the Nektann can't shoot you. Of course, you can't shoot them either, so it's more so just an oddity. Busy? Little? You see how ironic this dialogue gets as we progress through the game? Continuing the game headcanon that Dalu and Kazi swapped personalities, I wonder what Dalu's even been doing all this time. You're welcome. More foreshadowing of a problem with the endgame. Finally, something other than static, though the Toa-sized weapon she gives is more than a little useless. We got a second water spear, which has infinite ammo. Thank you? You're welcome too. One annoying oversight with this quest is that we have to defeat all enemies on screen, so that includes the rock ussels if they respawned. Oh right, turns out we get the spear from Kazi anyway. One last Garen montage. I got another one. Forgot to mention it, but it seems to be the one armor in this game that I know of with no drop cap. You can farm air burnak and have a whole stack of them if you want. Another funny glitch. And that was Chapter 5. Nektann Swarm was kind of a weird way to end things, but I guess you need a change of pace after the Paraka now and then. In Chapter 6, we'll be taking on more shenanigans in the Paraka's fortress. Until next time!